People judge more by appearances than by reality. That was the discovery. Machiavelli wrote it as counsel to rulers, not as consolation. The public will accept the mask long before it will discover the face beneath. He learned through court intrigue and the failure of princes that power rides on perception. That old, blunt truth still runs under the smooth machines of our social lives. You are in a glass boardroom. Rain tracks the windows in vertical rivulets. A man enters late, not hurried, but measured. He shakes hands the way people remember, firm, decisive, unbroken eye contact. He tells one compact story about a previous success. He laughs at the right moment. He corrects your technical detail with the calm certainty of someone who has seen the entire map. Two people on your team nod. You feel the shape of him before you hear the facts. You will trust him. You already do. Why does that happen? Why do smart people, well-read, skeptical, trained to test, keep handing authority and intimacy to those who will bend it? The answer is not failure of intellect, it is the efficiency of the mind. The brain trades in shortcuts. It conserves energy by using signals that correlated with reliability across evolutionary time, steady gaze, predictable behavior, small favors, familiarity. Manipulators study those signals and manufacture them. They are craftsmen of cue. Watch a different scene. A woman at a small dinner party meets an ex-partner of a friend, charming, polished, wealthy in stories. He mirrors her posture, mentions a book she once liked. Later he sends a thoughtful text. The text is small, a compliment, a favor. He knows someone who can introduce her to a job. She thinks generous, she thinks trustworthy. A month later she discovers he has used the same pattern with 3 others, and the favors had strings, access to private information that he later monetized. She is not foolish, she was being efficient. Psychology gives us names for these efficiencies. Thin slice judgments, the halo effect, mere exposure, reciprocity, each is a precise machine. Thin slice research shows that people form reliable impressions from seconds of behavior. Ambady and Rosenthal had strangers view silent clips of teachers and accurately predict student evaluations. The halo effect lets one positive trait, confidence, attractiveness, light up unrelated qualities, competence, morality. Zajonc showed that repeated exposure increases liking even when the exposure contains no information about character. Cialdini catalogued reciprocation. A single small gift obligates a return. None of this requires stupidity. It requires an ecology in which fast decisions once meant survival. Now return to Machiavelli. He advised princes to shape the signs the populace reads, seem generous, seem courageous, seem pious. He did not command falsehood for pleasure. He observed that the populace would rarely see the private calculus beneath public virtue. He was a student of signals. Modern manipulators are students of the same manual, updated. They have hashtags, curated vulnerability, staged generosity, and the vocabulary of trust. They sell their authenticity the way merchants once sold spices, scent, color, texture. The taste comes later, if at all. Consider one historical cut, Cesare Borgia, cold, efficient, decisive. He consolidated power not by being loved, but by engineering appearances of inevitability. He staged violence to make others submit preemptively. The lesson: control the interpretation of action before others can interpret the action itself. Social animals will fit events into the nearest familiar narrative. If the narrative suggests competence, loyalty, inevitability, people will align. Escalate the scene by moving it into your inbox. You write a careful message, you delete it, you rewrite, you cancel, you send, you watch the blue check appear. Someone replies quickly with a sentence that mirrors your phrasing. You feel relief, you feel understood. You open their profile and find rows of smiling photos, endorsements, mutuals. You read a recommendation from a respected person. The mind concatenates these cues into a single verdict, safe. You act on that verdict. You have just completed the heuristics pipeline. What the heuristics sacrifice is depth. They substitute probability for certainty. They allow cooperation without full information. They were adaptive when waiting for proof could cost life. But in modern networks with layers of representation and craft, the same shortcuts become vulnerabilities. Narcissists and sociopaths are not always the loud, obvious predators we imagine. They are technicians of impression. They copy the right facial expressions, they give the right compliment, they front-load favors until obligation feels like gratitude. They rehearse the cadence of trust. You have felt this in relationships. The early intensity, that fast-forwarded intimacy, the public image of a lover attentive, sacrificial, contrasted later with a private ledger of slights. You have seen it at work in organizations, a confident leader who wields charisma to centralize decisions, then erases dissent by rebranding critique as disloyalty. You have watched it online, an influencer's confession that mirrors your private fear, then a product placement shoehorned into empathy. Each case repeats the same anatomy: cue, evaluation, commitment, exploitation. There is a mechanism to notice. It starts with attention allocation. The brain assigns weight to signals it has learned to trust. Confidence carries weight because confidence often correlates with competence. Familiarity carries weight because familiar faces are less likely to be dangerous. Kindness carries weight because reciprocal networks kept groups alive. The manipulator's task is to bind those weights to false content. They manufactured confidence with rehearsed fluency. They create familiarity through curated repetition. They manufacture kindness with a ledger of trivial gifts. The cognitive system cannot see intent in a handshake. It registers pattern and moves on. This realization is neither comforting nor a carte blanche for cynicism. It is a map. Maps do not remove danger, they let you navigate more precisely. You can learn to slow the pipeline. You can demand not just signals but verifiable patterns over time. You can refuse the logic that a single generosity grounds a life-altering trust. You can test consistency when stakes are measurable. You can say quietly, "Show me the actions that cannot be staged." Ask for documentation. Ask for references who had nothing to gain. Watch for the architecture, not the ornament. But the map has a cost. Slowing the pipeline is itself a social signal. Insisting on verification can look like suspicion. It will repel genuine people who are impatient or clumsy. It will also reduce the manipulative harvest. The uneasy symmetry of social life is that defenses are expensive. Evolution did not hand us an immune system that is both fast and infallible. So what do you do in the moment when the smile slides across your meeting table and the voice steadies? You listen less to the shape of the story and more to the echoes it leaves. You notice whether generosity expands or is a ledger of returns. You notice whether confidence dissolves into excuses when challenged. You notice whether familiarity survives the removal of performance. You time the person. You measure. You require the slow unfolding of integrity. There is a final, harsher truth. Recognizing the machinery does not inoculate you from feeling betrayed. The same shortcuts that make us vulnerable also make human life possible. Cooperation requires trust, and trust requires risk. The honest people you will never meet if you refuse to risk anything are as real as the manipulators. The aim, then, is not to withdraw, but to calibrate what you are willing to risk and to whom. When you slow the mental mechanism, the world does not become kinder, it becomes clearer. You will see the masks more often. You will see how carefully they are stitched. You will also start to see the few faces where the seams are real skin. The question that remains is not whether you can tell the difference. It is whether you will bear the cost of waiting until the truth shows itself.